everybody. Welcome to another episode of I Hate Your Taste in Movies. This is a movie podcast where we force our friends to watch the movies we absolutely love and have them slowly peel apart our reality until we question every single part of it. I'm Jackie.
I'm Jen. Sorry, that was a new intro. I love it.
I was thinking about True Lies and I had to go to a dark place.
Yeah, it gets more dramatic every week. But I'm Austin.
And we can be found on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. So we'd love it if you guys could come say hello. Today we're discussing an Austin pick.
Yay!
Yay! We're all really hesitant, but yay!
Boo!
Oh.
We're already getting into it. Today we're talking about The Wizard of Oz.
Yay! Once again. Yes. When we were first talking about starting a podcast, this is one of the movies that I was originally thinking that we had to talk about because I think our original thing was really focusing on movies that someone hadn't seen, and I couldn't get over the fact that neither of you had seen The Wizard of Oz. It's literally considered the most watched movie of all time, and I'm just shocked that neither of you had seen it. So we are remedying that today. My history with it is, I feel like the normal person's history with it.
Okay, that's a bit much.
Watched it a bunch as a kid, had the VHS. And then this is actually the first musical that I ever played. We did it in high school in grade 10, so that was super fun. And so I just love the music. And every time I watch this movie, I watch it like every couple of years, and I'm just always so pleased with it. It's so watchable for me. I love it.
Can I say something funny?
Yes.
Until I watched this, I did not know it was a musical.
Really?
Yeah. Even though obviously there's some very classic songs. Yeah, I just never thought there was so much singing.
Yeah, there's a lot of music.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised. I mean, it makes sense because it's an Austin pick, but I was like, oh yeah, I recognize that song. Oh yeah, this one too. Oh, all of them. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. Did you guys come up with some guesses for what it was about? Did you know what it was about? What? I'm just flabbergasted that you knew so little about it. So.
I do have my guess, but I also wanted to read the classic description of this movie that was put in a 1998 TV guide.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right? I love this. It says, transported to a surreal landscape, a young girl kills the first person she meets and teams up with three strangers to kill again. I remember that.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a good description. I love it. But for real, I just said, a tornado takes Dorothy to Oz. She needs to find the wizard to get home. Ruby slippers. So I think I nailed it.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if you didn't.
Right? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I didn't bother making complete sentences. I just wrote, literally everyone knows this. Tornado, Kansas, Dorothy and Toto, House on a Witch, Yellow Brick Road, Flying Monkeys, Heart, Brain, Courage, Man Behind the Curtain, There's No Place Like Home, It Was All a Dream.
Yeah, beat by beat right there.
Yeah, that's the whole entire movie, which is also part of the reason I think why I never watched it. It's because it's so ingrained in pop culture. I felt like I've already seen all of it and I already knew all of it, so I didn't necessarily need to watch it, which is hypocritical of me because when people say that, like, oh, I don't need to watch Halloween because I know what happens, I'm like, no, you still need to watch it. So I'm sorry for being a total hypocrite, Austin, but I thought I didn't need to watch this, but you still need to watch every horror movie ever.
Well, I appreciate your acknowledgement of your hypocrisy. And now you've seen it, so all's good.
I was going to say I'm the opposite, where I thought I knew it, but I knew nothing about this movie. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's weird. What?
Yeah,
so there was at some points.
There was only a couple things that I didn't know about, and the rest of it I all kind of knew. So I'm curious to see like what you didn't know.
Oh, let's get into it because it's a lot.
Well, the first thing that like I always forget is how much of the movie is in sepia. Like at the beginning, like it's not that like minute wise, it's not that long. I think it's like maybe like 10 minutes or so, but like a lot happens in those first 10 minutes or like that first like sepia sequence. And I always forget that there's that much activity.
Yeah, that was one thing for sure that I did not know. I did not realize. I kind of thought it just starts and she meets like the woman who's also the witch or whatever. and then a tornado comes and she goes to Oz. I didn't realize there was that whole thing with like she's stealing the dog and Dorothy's running away and she meets a man with a crystal ball. And like at that point, I was like, who is this man? What is going on? When does she get to Oz? I thought there was a tornado. And then she has to run all the way back home, and then there's a tornado. And I'm like, they really pack a lot into those first 10 minutes.
Yeah. I always forget. I don't know. Like I've seen this movie. I haven't seen it like a ton of times, but I've seen it enough that I should remember at this point that there's a lot of action in the first 10 minutes. And then you meet Hunk and Hickory and I forget the other guy's name, but
sorry, is his name Hunk?
Hunk, yes. Oh my gosh.
Hunk?
Yeah, I watched it with subtitles and it's definitely Hunk.
Yeah.
Like he's a hunk of man. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
And Zeke. Zeke is the other one.
The first thing that I thought was really cool, actually. I didn't even know when I started watching the movie, I thought the whole thing was going to be in sepia. And I was like, this is going to be annoying. And then I was even thinking, how are they going to show that the yellow brick road is yellow if it's sepia? But I just quickly moved on. I was like, whatever, I'm experiencing this. But I was like, oh, I get it. Immediately, I'm like, oh, these people are all going to be the characters in her weird dream. Yay! So I didn't know it was a dream, but I could figure it out immediately because, you know, the guy who was the lion was cowardly when he tried to help her out of the pig pen, and Hickory was playing with a machine, you know, tin or whatever. So it all very easily lined up and I got it. But the fortune teller part really threw me. I was like, hey, first of all, Dorothy, how old are you? 13? Maybe don't go talk to strange men who are camping in a little shack. And he like leads her into his weird mobile shack. And I was like, don't do it, Dorothy. And I started to get a little bit concerned. I'm like, is this a dark movie? Like, is she like hit over the head by a creepy man and then she has a fever dream about it? And I thought it was going to be a situation where it's like she was in danger, so she was escaping to this fantasy world in her brain. So I was pretty pleased that that didn't end up happening.
I would definitely watch your like dark version, though.
Yeah,
that's a good
It's terrifying. And then the second note I have is, why are her eyebrows so far apart?
That was the style, wasn't it?
I was going to say, did anyone else object to that? Because it threw me the entire movie.
I honestly didn't even notice.
Yeah, I did not notice her eyebrows.
You guys,
one bit.
Her eyebrows start like where her pupils are. They're so far apart. It's crazy.
I think that was kind of the style of the 30s, though. Like,
oh,
art,
God.
Like,
what a mistake that was.
Which, should we talk briefly about Judy Garland? Because have you guys seen Judy Garland movies? Like, how familiar are you guys with Judy Garland?
I'm familiar with who she is as like a movie star and like her life, but not necessarily her actual work, if that makes sense. Like, I know who she is, but I don't think I've seen any like Judy Garland movies.
I was just going to say, is she Liza Minnelli's mother?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I know about her. The end.
Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of where my hypocrisy comes in, because I do, like, I love her. I love her in this, and usually I'll end up watching, like I did with I, Tonya and Chicago, I go down rabbit holes after I watch musicals where I just watch, like, clips of them singing and different performances and all this. So I always go down Judy Garland rabbit holes. So I've seen a lot of her performances. I've read a lot about her, but I actually haven't seen that many movies of hers either. My goal is to, in the next couple of weeks, my plan is to watch a bunch of classic movie musicals, because it's kind of a blind spot for myself, which is a bit of, not great for what I'm doing here. But so there might be more in the future. But yeah, I'm not super familiar, but she is wonderful in this. And you talked about her age, and so she was 16, I think, when this movie was made. But Dorothy, I think, is supposed to be like 11 or 12. And so that's kind of the whole thing where they really tried to make her look as young as possible. But I don't think I realized that. Like, this was the first time watching it where I was trying to like actively remind myself that the character was only 11 or 12. Like, her voice is just so mature, especially her singing voice. And obviously, like, she doesn't look like an 11 or 12-year-old, but yeah.
I had the same reaction. I actually like made a note, like, how old is Judy Garland? And I looked it up afterwards and found out, yeah, she was 16, but she was in this weird like point in this movie where they're obviously trying to make her look and act like a lot younger of a child. Yeah. But like you said, her singing voice was so mature. She sounds even older than 16 at that point. Mm-hmm. But then the rest of it is so like, she's acting like a very little kid. And I was just very confused by how old Dorothy was supposed to be.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be a Shirley Temple movie, and so I don't really know exactly how old Shirley Temple would have been at this point, but And I don't know much about how it kind of came around to Judy Garland, but she wasn't the first choice. And then, yeah, they were really trying to make her young. And this also just makes me sad because I don't know how much if you're not that familiar with Judy Garland, like she led a pretty sad life. Like she was see, this is where I feel bad talking about this because I don't know enough, so I'm gonna probably make a lot of people angry at me, so I'm sorry.
I'm already angry at you.
No, like, well, Jen, how much do you know about the studio system? Like, can you speak to the studio system at all, maybe more coherently than I can?
What I know of Judy Garland, which I'm not going to say is a ton, but the studio system obviously back in the day used to be very controlling, and you would enter contracts with studios. So you wouldn't be like, I'm doing this movie and then this movie. You would just be on contract at MGM, and then whatever MGM movie was being made, they would put you in it. So Judy Garland had that kind of relationship with the studio when she was a kid. And so at a very early age, they were kind of putting her on diets and telling her she had to lose weight and look prettier. And then she started drinking, I guess, fairly young because of it, because she had a lot of issues with depression. And like Austin said, went on to lead a very tragic life full of depression and alcoholism and suicide attempts, and eventually died. And yeah, it was just not a good situation. And a lot of it came from the weird pressures of 1930s Hollywood.
Exactly, yeah. So I have this book that's called Judy Garland on Judy Garland, which is basically a compilation of like a lot of interviews that she did or like articles that were written about her, and it's broken up by decade. And there's like one quote that she had from 1951 from Cosmopolitan where she was saying, "It took me 6 years to convince even movie people that I wasn't permanently 12 years old wearing my hair in pigtails, and I'm still trying to convince outsiders. You can't very well go around denying the stories your studio releases when it's doing everything it can to make you a star, and sometimes you get to doubting your actual personality." So she really was kind of owned by MGM for such a long time, and I don't know. So it's got, like, that's always kind of in the back of my mind, too, when I watch this movie, but I try to forget about that.
That's awful. I mean, I think I knew she was a tragic figure, but it's sad that she was a child actor turned alcoholic purely from the industry. It's the same old story all the time, but it's really sad.
Yeah. Sorry to get dark so early in a really happy movie. So, Jackie, then you said you didn't realize, or you thought for a while that this was all going to be in sepia. So I'd love to hear what your reaction to the Technicolor reveal was.
Actually, it was a really nice moment. I really, really dug the Oz visual. And even I was aware, I'm like, this is a really long, slow camera pan for no reason. But I was like, yeah, this is pretty. They did such a cool job with the set. I mean, It was pretty clear it was a set, right? There was no question that it was inside. But you could tell the work that went into every little leaf on every tree. Like they did so much. It was so intense and vibrant. And it was really cool. And the yellow swirl road in the middle really stood out to me. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's the yellow brick road. I get it. And it was cool. It was really unexpected. Like I had no idea it was coming. So it was a little bit shocking, and I really, really liked it.
That's good. Like, I'm glad.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone else probably knew exactly what was going to happen, but it was brand new for me. It was great.
I love that, though. And I love that you had like a positive reaction to it, because that is one thing that I love about this movie. And like I mentioned it briefly up top, that it's just very watchable. Because like, even though it's clearly of a different time, and like it's, you know, it's aged extremely well, and even the sets still look good. Like you can clearly tell, like you said, it's in a studio. Like they're doing the painting sets, but like the attention to detail, like it's so vibrant, obviously taking all advantage of Technicolor, and like it's so fun to watch, so fun to look at.
So one thing that I noticed that I didn't really pick up on before, obviously because I hadn't seen Wizard of Oz, but I knew so much of it, I kind of thought I knew all of the references to it in other bits of popular culture, but I didn't realize until I was watching that scene with the reveal when they walk into Oz that that's clearly a big inspiration in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when they first enter the factory, and it's like this big room, and it's in a jungle, and it's flowers and rivers and bright colors. Then there's the Oompa Loompas kind of like hiding, and they come out and sing a song. And I was like, it's what the fucking Munchkins are. That's where they like invoked this whole kind of moment. And I just did not realize that. So I thought that was kind of a cool way for me to, in real time, realize the influence of this movie.
Oh, awesome.
Was it influence or did they steal it? That sounds pretty spot on.
I think it's influence because it's obviously like not the same plot in any way. I think it's just the same kind of trying to invoke that feeling of like you've stepped into Oz, you've stepped into this magical world.
Yeah,
I
feeling
was
of
just going to
awe
say, can I tell you that I've never seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
does not come as a surprise to me.
So I
And I have
actually don't
no desire.
love the movies. I read the books when I was a kid and I was really into them. So the Gene Wilder movie I watched, obviously, because it was on a lot when I was a kid, but it wasn't accurate to the books. And I was a snob even as a child, so I did not love it.
Fair. That's really cool, though. I love the whole open the door and there's a whole another world there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the concept is just appealing, and they did it really well.
Can I be a total nerd and tell you how they achieved that effect?
I know one
Please,
part of it, but
Austin.
you can please tell the rest.
Please.
Okay. So the inside of the farmhouse, when she's like walking to the door and opening the door, it was all just painted sepia. And then Judy Garland's stand-in opens the door, so she's wearing like a sepia dyed version of the dress. And then she opens the door, the camera goes through, and Judy Garland walks through in the color.
Oh, wow. That's actually really cool. I didn't
Right?
actually think about how they would do that, given old-timey technologies. But
Yeah.
it was seamless.
It totally was. And I guess it doesn't really work on like old broadcasts. Like if you were to watch this movie on like a black and white television, obviously the effect doesn't make any, obviously because the Technicolor doesn't exist on the black and white television, but even like the contrast between the two, I guess, wouldn't really pay off at all. But it's super effective. I sound like a fool today.
I'm also trying to see my notes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So she gets there. Hello. Beautiful. What are these tiny people like hiding in the bushes? Surprised me. Creeped me out. Did not enjoy. Like 100% so weird, and their voices were so off-putting. And beyond the weirdness from the movie itself, there's the knowledge that like these actors were probably treated and paid very poorly, and they're credited in the credits as the Munchkins with no individual names. They're just one group. I did not enjoy that either.
Yeah.
I also absolutely hated the Munchkins. I thought I hated their songs. They went on too long. Their voices were weird. I wasn't happy with it. And then, when I was looking up the movie, I did find that the Munchkins were all paid less than the dog was. So they were treated pretty horribly.
Oh boy. I mean, can we just say that dog was a terrific actor?
Yeah, I mean, I agree
that dog earned his paycheck.
Toto was the best part, so I'm not too mad that it made a lot of money, but I just think that it kind of reflects poorly on how you treated the singing and dancing actors in your film.
Yes, the human beings.
Human being.
Who did a lot of work. Even if I did not like with that 20-minute Munchkin song, they did a lot of work. They deserve to get paid.
Yeah, but I agree. Not arguing that point, but I need someone to explain to me what a lullaby and a lollipop guild is and why they had individual performances. And I don't understand the lollipop guild. They're like doing a weird kick, chew song. Like, what is happening?
This is where Jackie needs her logic.
Yeah, why is there only 2 guilds? What are they? The unions? There's got to be more. Is it Lullaby or Lollipip? That's it? Those are the 2 ruling parties, and they're represented by like 3 people each? It doesn't make any sense. Who are these people? Why do they get a song? The mayor doesn't have a song. It's all right. I'm over it.
Also, if they were ruled by the Wicked Witch, what do they need a mayor for?
Right? He's a figurehead.
This is where I feel like we need someone who's read the books to answer, because the movie doesn't really explain the political makeup of Oz.
Definite failing.
But I got distracted during that song because it started to really bother me where the red brick road leads to, because you know how there's like they're intertwined as a spiral of the yellow brick road, and then the red brick road goes in a different direction. So I wanted to know where the red brick road goes. So I looked into that, and so Oz is divided into 4 counties or countries. I don't know if they're referred to as counties or countries. I have both written in my notes, so who knows? But there's Quadling County, Winky County, Gillikin County, and Munchkin Country. And the red is Quadling. I don't know how much the movie deviates from the books, but anyway.
You also just said a lot of gibberish words. Like,
yes, I did.
Sorry, is Oz a city or a county?
I think Oz is the country.
Or the Emerald City. Sorry, the Emerald City is a city
part
in a
of.
county.
I guess that makes sense. But which
it's like the
county
capital,
is
probably,
the
right?
Emerald City part of?
Can someone who knows Oz
Anyone,
please
help us,
write
please.
in?
Can the actual wizard please just shoot us an email and let us know how he runs Oz?
Super appreciated.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm feeling like I'm really trying to remember. I haven't read the Wizard of Oz books, but I've read Wicked, and I'm trying to remember anything from Wicked, and I can't.
But, like, does the Yellow Brick Road start in Munchkin Land?
Well, not according to my very brief Google search, but I guess it would, right?
It looked like she was at the start when she started walking in a circle, which, by the way, irritating. Just cut across.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
same.
See, I
same thought.
appreciated that she started at the beginning. I was like, that's very considerate of you.
No, start where it starts not being a spiral anymore. It's very easy.
Yeah.
Just walk over.
And, like, you can see where the Yellow Brick Road is pointing, so you don't have to go in the little circle to get to that. You can just go. You can just be like, oh, it's that way.
Also, this is jumping ahead a little bit when Glinda says the Munchkins will lead you to the edge of the of Munchkin City or whatever. It's like 20 feet away. Like,
they just stand and wave as she walks. Like, that's not leading her. But I mean, then at least we didn't have to see any more of the Munchkins, and they could go away from the movie.
Wow, Jen hated the Munchkins.
When they were singing their fucking 20-minute Munchkin song, I literally thought I wasn't going to be able to finish the movie.
Oof.
I will say the voices are a tad bit grating, but that's the only concession I'll give you on that one.
I also it was just confusing. I get that they're in a different parallel world or whatever, but I'm like, I already suspected that this was Dorothy's brain. And I'm like, this is upsetting. This is what her brain is making and hallucinating. Like, weird Munchkin babies coming out of eggs and, like, singing. And I just, like, I'm worried about her mental health if this is what she's thinking of when she's asleep.
That is another really good point, because all of the adult characters are basically people she knows in her real life. But then she also just is, dreaming about a bunch of little people? Like, where do they come from? Does she think about them a lot? Has she ever met or seen any?
Yeah, and, like, the monkeys and every fantastical element. I feel like she either has a crazy good imagination or is just crazy.
I think she's just got a really good imagination.
Do you think she was taking LSD?
I mean, maybe, because she lives in a Kansas cornfield. There's literally nothing to see or do.
Yeah.
So you have to wonder where she's getting these thoughts and images from. She has nothing external to inspire her, so it's all drugs. You solved it. You've cracked it.
Yeah, or at the beginning when she was at that weird, like, circus man's cabin and he was looking in his crystal ball.
Professor Marvel.
Thank you. Even if he had some, like, photos from his travels abroad that maybe had some of these elements, that then you could understand what she had just recently seen a photo of a monkey, and now that's why she's thinking of flying monkeys. You know what I mean?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that would have been kind of cool.
Honestly, I didn't pay enough attention. Maybe there was a photo of a monkey placed prominently in his murder shed. Maybe that was kind of a clue.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that. Austin?
I don't know.
Austin, you've seen everything. Tell us.
Yeah, Austin, you know every frame of this movie, right?
I really don't. I really don't. But I kind of like that, though. Like, maybe she subconsciously saw something that inspired those dreams. But then that's also the, like, is Oz real? In the books, it's a real place. In the movie, it's in her dreams. So, I don't know.
I have another question for Jen.
Yes.
What was your opinion of Glinda?
I don't know if I had an opinion of Glinda. Was I supposed to?
Oh, I don't know. She annoyed me. I was like, straight up, your voice is like poison to my ears. When she sings, it's like, I'm like, you couldn't get someone who can sing to be this good witch? She's awful.
Yeah, she's probably my least favorite character in this movie, to be honest. I have a bone to pick with her later.
Yeah, she's like, you'll figure it out. Bye. And Dorothy's like, wait, what? Help me. Tell me anything. And she's like, I'm already gone. You bitch.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm going to pick this bone right now. My bone to pick with her is that, yeah, she just sends her on her way. That's like, by the way, that witch wants you dead. Don't let her have those shoes. See ya. And then meets up with her at the end. And it's just like, oh, you just got to click your heels together. You'll go home. Like, you couldn't have told her that before? Come on, Glinda.
But she says Dorothy has to learn things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Also, on, like, a logistical level, I think like from the books they like combined the Good Witch of the North and the Good Witch of the South. So it's two characters, and I think in the books like one tells Dorothy one thing and the other one tells her the other. So, but I don't know. But yeah, it's like, Glinda, come on. You could have just helped her out at the beginning.
She totally just used her to kill the Wicked Witch of the West. Like she planned this whole thing to do her dirty work. She's evil.
I've never thought of it like that. Really
How
funny.
good of a witch is she?
Right? She's a bad witch in good witch's clothing.
Wow.
I bet she even brought the fake Oz or whatever and put him behind the curtain. She was probably manipulating everybody. Now I like her more. Now I'm into it. Now, all right, this version of Glinda I could get behind. The psycho manipulator. I'm into it.
Austin, I have a question for you, and you can judge me away. Is the Good Witch in this one the character that Kristen Chenoweth is in Wicked?
Yeah.
Okay. I know where we are now. I get things.
Yes. And then Wicked Witch of the West is Elphaba.
Okay. So like that...
Sorry, I just really got stuck on the name. Elphaba is the name?
Elphaba. Yeah.
Okay, that's not a real name, but all right.
Yeah, in Wicked, yeah.
Okay, and then that's the Wicked Witch, like the main bad character in this one, not the Wicked Witch that dies from the house.
Oh my god, so you guys.
In Wicked, it's kind of like the prequels, I guess. Like, it gives you a backstory of who all these characters are. So Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West before she turns evil, I guess. And so you kind of understand why she turns evil. And then, like, in the backstory is that her and Glinda were roommates at school and were, like, best friends until, you know, some shit happens and they break up and Elphaba turns bad.
I will say, I'm sorry, I totally, way a minute ago, I just screamed, oh my god, because I meant to say, I've never seen that creepy ass thing when the house crushes her and her feet turn like flat and they curl backwards and slide out under the house.
It's pretty disturbing.
That was scary. I did not enjoy that. I was like, oh no. And then I'm like, where did she go? What happened to her body? Why did it curl up? Is it still under the house? Is it crawling away? Is she dead or not? And they never talk about it. That's just okay. Everyone just accepts that.
Sorry, I was going to say, this is also like how at the end when the Wicked Witch just gets water thrown on her and melts and like her body disappears. So is that just how witches die? Their bodies turn to like nothingness?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, she was disintegrating.
But then does that happen from any kind of death? Because a house dropping on you versus getting splashed with water are very different experiences.
Well, and it was also Glinda did something, right? Like, because it would have made sense if the shoes, because she was going for the shoes, and then Glinda like cast a little spell or whatever, and then it disappeared. But you'd think like the shoes would disappear, but not like the legs would crumple back up inside.
Ugh. Yeah, why would Glinda put the shoes on Dorothy?
Because she had to learn some lessons, we've established.
Right.
The shoes are what was going to make her go home, right?
I guess.
Like, if she didn't have the shoes, she couldn't tap her heels and be transported back to Kansas?
I kind of thought that she didn't... Maybe I need to watch the ending again, but I kind of thought she didn't even need the shoes. She just tapped her heels together regardless of footwear and says,
yeah,
no
I guess
home.
They don't really talk about why the Witch of the West would want the shoes.
Yeah.
I guess theoretically she's giving them to Dorothy to protect. And she's cast something on it so that the witch can't get to them, but...
Yeah, see, I was under the impression that the shoes were magic, and that's why the bad witch wanted them, because she wanted to do some magic with them. And then Dorothy was just like, I don't know why I have these weird-ass shoes. What happened to my old shoes? But then that's because she had the magic shoes that she was able to use their magic to go home,
I think that's what we're supposed to go with. That's what we're supposed to... Once again, this is a children's movie.
It needs 100% logic, Austin.
I'm sorry.
He's like, yeah, I just thought that the shoes ended up being nothing at all. And it was her own realization that she wanted to go home because of blah, blah, blah. That would bring her home.
But you know what? The shoes looked amazing.
Oh, they did. And can I say one more thing about the shoes? I thought the last, jumping way ahead, Dorothy wakes up in her bed, right? She's like, oh, I'm so glad to see everybody. I totally was expecting her to pull the blanket back and she was going to be wearing the shoes.
Yes.
That would have actually been an amazing ending.
Right? I was like, here it comes, big shoe reveal. And then she's just like, the end. I was like, oh, that's too bad.
I like Jackie's version of the movie, though.
Yeah, Jackie wrote a good version of Wizard of Oz. Can you make this happen?
You're welcome. It's called The Wiz.
That exists already.
But
Michael Jackson.
I just want to say that Austin is so right. The shoes are kick-ass. I want those shoes. I would wear them. Shout out to my little sister Allie, who had red high heel shoes made for children that she wore nonstop for about 4 years. Hi guys.
Had she seen Wizard of Oz?
No, they were just pretty shoes. She was a lady.
Do you think after this movie came out, there was like an influx in people buying red shoes?
There must have been. And wearing them with socks like that. It was a look. And also, was that Judy Garland's real hair, do we think? Because that's some good ass hair.
I feel like I should know this.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say yes, but then I was like, that's a good question. That might have been a wig.
It may have
very
been.
luxurious.
I know originally she was supposed to be like blonde and like a whole big thing, and so like that definitely was not her real hair. But this hair, I can't remember if it's actually hers or not. I feel like it's not. I feel like it's a wig.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like her hair was shorter, but I could be wrong. I'm so sorry for, everyone out there, obviously the many, many people that are listening, that I'm disappointing with my lack of Judy Garland knowledge.
I feel like I'm putting you on the spot a lot. I'm like, Austin.
No, it's okay. I'm just ashamed of myself. I should do better.
It's funny because for some reason, Austin, I do associate you in my head with like old Hollywood stuff, even though you've said you don't watch a ton of classic musicals and that's not your expertise. But for some reason, the musicals and old Hollywood just go together in my head. And I'm like, Austin knows all this stuff. And that's kind of just unfairly putting it on you. You don't know this stuff. It's okay that you know everything in the world about Bob Fosse and nothing about Judy Garland. That's fine. That's valid.
For real. But during the movie, I'm like, I'll just ask Austin. Every time I had a thought, I'm like, I'll just ask Austin.
I know a fair amount. I can like hold my own, but I don't want to get into the weeds too much because I'm gonna fuck it up.
That's where I live. Questions.
So should we talk about the Scarecrow? He's the first person he meets on her voyage.
So this is just a little bit of a sidebar, but I was in my head casting all these characters as modern day actors. So the Scarecrow, I feel like the kind of wobbly falling down a lot thing would have been like a 90s Jim Carrey kind of role. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Nice. I picture him as a Matthew Lillard.
Oh, nice. It's kind of similar energy.
Right? Spazzy, but lovable.
Yeah.
I loved his performance, though. Like, he was so... Like, the physicality of that role. Like, I just think the way he moved so, like, flimsily. I don't know. Like, I just thought he was great.
I actually loved the little details that I noticed only once, but I'm sure was happening the whole movie, where every time they would, prance off into the distance, singing they're off to see the wizard, he would keep falling and Dorothy would keep pulling him up.
Yes! I made a note of that. I loved it.
Right? It was cute.
Yeah, that's so funny. I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah, and it made her seem a little bit more competent, too. Because a lot of this movie just happens to Dorothy.
Yeah.
But she's an active participant.
Yeah.
And I did like, I don't know, kind of through that, you felt their friendship a lot. So then at the end, when I was looking up this movie after watching it, I saw a lot of people complaining about how at the end she says, "Oh, Scarecrow, I'll miss you most of all." But I was like, I clearly got that the two of them were closest. Like, I got that they were real, genuine friends. So I didn't think that was like an insult to anyone else that she was like, "But you are my best friends."
Yeah.
I can't believe people were mad about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It came up on some like lists I was reading where people were like, "Oh, this was weird that she said this." But I'm like, but he was her friend and she cared about him and he fought really hard to save her. So
her first friend.
He caught fire for her.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's a weird thing to have a bone to pick with this movie about, but apparently people do.
No. There's two of my favorite moments are in the scene where she meets the Scarecrow, or two of my favorite quotes, I guess. I like the part where the crow lands on his shoulder and he's just like, "Boo." Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Boo.
Yep. And then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Well-trained bird actor.
And also the quote where he's like, "Well, some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?"
Yeah, I wrote that one down too. I was like, so apt. The political climate. Very well done, Scarecrow.
The other thing I'd love to talk about, the makeup in this movie. I'd love to talk about the makeup because it starts with Scarecrow, really, and then like Tin Man and the Lion as well. But like the Scarecrow's makeup especially, it's kind of creepy. Like it's unsettling. And even watching it now, like I can't figure out where it starts and finishes, and I don't know. It's
Totally.
really, really good makeup.
So I'm glad you brought up the makeup because I looked it up because one of the things that I thought I remembered from this movie, one of those like weird urban legendy things, was that the Tin Man actor died from the makeup. So I did a lot of research on the makeup. He did not die, but the original actor for the Tin Man was made sick by the makeup and was basically poisoned by it and had to go to the hospital. So they had to recast.
It was mercury.
Yeah,
Oh,
they had to
boy.
recast with a different actor. And so I was reading all about the makeup. So there was that for the Tin Man. The Wicked Witch, it like dyed her skin green for months. The actors were in such heavy makeup and prosthetics that they couldn't talk or eat, so they had to have like a liquid diet through straws. And then the Scarecrow, apparently it was a mix of like prosthetics and makeup, and it left lines on his face again for months after shooting.
Honestly,
my
it
goodness.
sounds like the three of them had like Tin Man, Scarecrow, Lion. They had like the
And the
worst
witch.
time. Yeah, well, yeah. But just like had the worst time filming because of their costumes. Like the lion's costume, I think weighed, I have it in my notes somewhere. It weighed something like 90 pounds or something. Like it was a ridiculously heavy costume.
Oh my god. I noticed the Scarecrow's makeup immediately. The folds around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
I also was trying to see where they turned into real skin. I was very impressed purely by his neck. I was just blown away by the neck. I'm like, Tin Man, he was very clearly in cardboard and painted silver, and the lion's in a plushy outfit, but Scarecrow, I was like, boom, that is well done.
Yeah, I do think a lot of the makeup and special effects were really good for being from the 30s.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously when you watch it, you know it's an older movie and it feels older, but doesn't necessarily feel like 80 years old, you know? Like, I think I could place it with some more modern films. By modern, I mean like 60s.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't feel that dated. Like, they did do a good job with that stuff.
I think the only thing that makes it feel dated to me is like some of the dialogue. Like it's very like, gee willikers. Like it's a little bit corny dialogue, but like.
But that's also just kids' movie stuff, you know?
That's true. That's true. Like I would not normally be excited to watch a movie from 1939, you know? But yeah, I'm always impressed with how well some of the effects and the makeup and all that holds up.
Even if it did almost kill a bunch of the actors, they did a good job with it.
Yes, well, they did take the mercury out of the paint, out of the makeup when they recast the Tin Man.
After they hospitalized a man. So
I was going to say, he got like nothing. He didn't get a job. He didn't get a paycheck. He didn't get any fame. He just got sent to the hospital.
This whole movie is a death trap. Like, I guess we could talk about it. This whole movie was a friggin' death trap. The snow when they're laying in the poppies. Do you want to take a guess what that was?
Oh my god, asbestos.
Cocaine.
Asbestos!
I knew it! Only from the way you said it. Ew! Oh god, their lungs.
And then Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch of the West, she, Jen, you probably saw this when you were looking into it, but when she would disappear, like at the beginning in Munchkin Land and stuff, how there's like a cloud of smoke and some fire, and then she disappears. That was done with like a trap door. And I guess one time they timed it wrong and she like basically caught on fire. And then because of the copper in her paint, in her makeup, she suffered like 3rd-degree burns and she was off work for like 6 weeks. And like this.
Oh my
god. Right? I know. And like the Scarecrow was just a friggin' tinderbox. Like I don't. Like the whole thing is just a death trap. I don't know. This movie could not be made today.
Wow. I guess, so when they caught the Scarecrow on fire, he was probably actually, like, in serious danger.
Probably.
Yeah, that's a good point, because now when they do that, they have, like, stunt men wearing, like, flame retardant stuff, and, like, they're not actually in any real danger, but they probably just actually lit that man on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, hold this, and it's on fire.
Also, lay in some asbestos, please.
Brutal.
Do you guys want to talk about the Tin Man now, a little bit? Because I loved the Tin Man. I think the Tin Man might have been my favorite, and maybe that's because I really love an old-timey oil can and the sound it makes when it's like, whoop, whoop, whoop. My dad had one in his office growing up. It didn't work or anything, but I remember distinctly playing with it a lot. And they saw the oil can, and I'm like, yeah, I totally played this game with my brothers and sisters where we would pretend to be frozen and you'd have to oil them up and they would move.
That is so specific, and I love every second of it.
The absolute silence that followed that statement makes me think that no one else played this game? Question mark.
No, I don't think I had an old-timey, like, oil can that I played with as a child. I had toys, because I did not grow up in the Depression. Like, what?
Your poor, sad childhood.
Back in the olden days.
Yeah, like, Jackie, was this your childhood in the 30s?
All right, nope. I knew you were going to say something so cruel. I don't know, man. I love an oil can. It's really fun. And you push on the bottom, and it makes that, like, oil sound. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't know if I do.
No, I have limited experience with oil cans.
Okay, well, the one I'm thinking of, she has one where I think, if it's what I think it is, it has a dome shape with the oil reservoir, and it has a flat bottom, and you literally push on the middle of the flat bottom, and that's what pushes oil out the spout. And it makes like a metal bendy sound every time you do it. Whoop, 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 and the oil comes out. And we played with it. I'm having such a hard time explaining this.
I'm so excited that I already know what my audio clip for social media is going to be. Jackie making the noises of an oil can.
I think that tops her impression of all the cars driving by in Speed.
Oh, God. I really didn't expect such a reaction for my love of oil cans, but I really do like them.
Oh my God.
I
love it.
I don't even know where to go from here. I have nothing to say.
Okay, fine. Let's just talk about the Tin Man, how cool he is. I like him. I like his weird nose. I like the way he dances. He was one of my favorite characters, if not the.
It's funny because I think he's the one that I always kind of forget about. I mean, I like him. I have nothing against the Tin Man. I am not opposed to oil cans. But
damn right. If you're my friend, you love him.
I found maybe it's also from the beginning too. Like I felt he's Hickory, right? In the before times.
I think so.
Like I feel like I didn't really catch what his element of having a heart was, I guess. But like you said before, I guess it was like tinkering with machines and stuff. So I guess that makes sense. Anyway, I do appreciate that in his song, he's very expressive with very little movement, and it's very endearing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I love when he dances and he toots the steam out of his head. That's a good touch.
Yes, that's classic.
And then Toto runs away in terror. I don't know if you noticed that. That's a nice touch.
Oh, no. Toto.
Toto was the best.
How did they get Toto to be so good at following them around?
Right? I felt bad for him. He was like being stepped on or almost stepped on so often.
And like whenever they would leave to go somewhere else, they wouldn't be like, come along, Toto. They would just hold arms and start skipping, and Toto would just dutifully follow along. Like, what a good dog.
He's a good actor. His name was Terry. I know that.
Okay, good job, Terry. See, I don't want to think about the dog that played Toto, because then I have to come to the fact that it was 80 years ago. So it's better just to think of Toto as a magical dog that exists.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm on board. And now I guess we would talk about the lion. Do you guys enjoy the lion?
First of all, in my recasting with modern actors, I think the lion would be done well by Titus from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I think he would have a fun time with that.
Nice. Really good.
I didn't love the lion, but I'm not sure if it's just kind of like a type of humor that doesn't translate well. Maybe it was like if I had seen it as a kid, I would have thought he was like goofy and charming, but I thought he was just kind of annoying.
I felt like some of his sections maybe went on a little long, like when they first meet him and he like is scaring the Scarecrow and the Tin Man. I feel like that maybe went on a little bit further than it maybe should have. I do love his speech, I guess. I love how he says nerve. The Noive is my favorite thing.
I don't know why he got 2 songs and everyone else got 1. And everybody else also seemed to, like, I was expecting every character to slowly prove to themselves and everyone else that they had the thing they wanted inside them all along. I was like, Scarecrow's being pretty smart, Tin Man's being pretty emoty, and I was like, Lion just sucks all the time. He's always being a wuss and fainting and being useless, and they're having to drag him along. And I was like, where's his character development? He's just sucks.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the other 2 had more of like a personality and a characterization, whereas I felt like the lion, for the most part, was just that one-note joke over and over and over again. And that's why I didn't love him. Like, even towards the end, Jackie, same thing you were saying, where you thought they were going to all be showing the traits that they had the whole time. And then they're kind of like, Scarecrow's coming up with a plan to save Dorothy, and Tin Man's crying, and then the Cowardly Lion's like, okay, I'll go and I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, this is the moment where they're all being what they thought they were missing. But then he still goes like, oh no, talk me out of it. And I'm like, you just undermined that character development for the same joke that he's already done like 4 times in this movie.
Totally.
That's totally fair. Yeah, it's never really bothered me. I've never really noticed that, but I can see that for sure. When they're in Oz, which this is kind of jumping ahead so we can come back, but when they're in Oz and they're walking down the hallway towards the wizard, I will say I related pretty hard to the line. If you ever want a snapshot of what I will be like in a haunted house, that's me.
I feel like the snapshot of you in the haunted house was the time we did the pitch black escape room and you just like hid behind me.
So that was basically Lion. Also, when he runs back out and just jumps through the window, also me.
That was actually one funny moment. I was like, oh, okay. I thought he was going to run past the camera down the hall, but he chose window. Sure. All
right, so I think we're establishing that Austin is the Cowardly Lion. Jackie, I guess, is the Tin Man with her love of oil cans. And then that makes me the Scarecrow.
Yes, I'm so excited. I want to be surrounded by oil cans for the rest of my life. That's all I ever wanted. Boop, boop.
Oil cans. Like, what? The things I'm learning about you guys through this podcast. It's amazing.
Not all good. Not all good. Wow. It's some of those things that I never realized was weird until I got you guys to react to my statement. And I'm just like, oh no. Does not everyone love oil cans? All right. So we've cast the movie with ourselves, which is weird.
Yes. Most important.
I wanted to talk about the flying monkeys. Those were people, right? Those were actors, yes?
I think so, yeah.
Because at first, when she's looking in her crystal ball, hatching her plot, and there's a monkey there, I was like, oh, this monkey is a great actor. I fully believed it was a monkey. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's looking at the ball really well, looking at the witch, like he's so well trained. And then I was like, oh my, I've been hoodwinked. That is a human being in a monkey costume. I felt so stupid.
Been hoodwinked.
We've lost our minds today.
Totally. Who's been drinking? Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
All right. Well, then, but let's not talk about the monkeys, since apparently that was a weird thing to say.
No. I think I do want to talk about the monkeys. I like that you were hoodwinked. I kind of thought, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of thought the monkeys were just the Munchkin actors now in a monkey costume.
Oh my god, they did double work and they got no credit at all. That's terrible.
Yeah, which is fucked up. Although, I do have to say, my friend of the pod, Shalane, I'm shouting her out, we were texting about Wizard of Oz after I watched it because she's one of those people who always gave me a hard time for never having seen it. And she told me that afterwards, a lot, yes. She said that afterwards, a lot of the actors who played the Munchkins, organized and formed like a little people activism group in Hollywood to try to demand better pay and things like that and more respect. So something good did come out of it, but something bad just had to happen first, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. You're right, but it's a shame.
Yeah, like they shouldn't have to fight for equality, but at least they were able to, I don't know, come together in this experience and then start doing that.
A lot of them apparently also were like a troupe of some kind from Europe, and a lot of them actually used it as an excuse to stay in the States to avoid like the war or to escape the Nazis, basically.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So there was also that side of things.
Yeah, they had bigger concerns than getting their name in the credits. They're like, can I not go back to war-torn, Nazi-ravaged Germany? Cool.
Yeah. That's fair.
Just regarding the monkeys, I realized she never said, fly, my pretties, fly, which to me was a classic Wizard of Oz quote. She just says fly.
Yeah, I think I noticed that too, actually, and was confused. Maybe I missed it.
It's kind of like in Snow White, how she never says mirror, mirror on the wall.
Oh, wow.
Right.
It's just those like common misconceptions. Huh. Or what do they call them? Mandela effects? It's a Mandela effect. I'm smart.
Yeah, or no, it's like the, there's just so many of those with movies too, right?
Yeah.
Play It Again, Sam. Casablanca. Never happens.
Oh. Wow, you guys are shattering a lot of stuff for me. I'm like, these quotes that I've always thought I knew. Also haven't seen Casablanca. Never mind.
That was the answer in Final Jeopardy last night on one of the episodes I was watching, and I got it, and none of the contestants got it, and I was so proud of myself.
What was it?
Nice.
Casablanca?
Yeah, it was like what movie premiered like 15 days after the city that it's named after was liberated.
Oh.
Wow, they didn't get that.
Yeah, I was like, that's easy by Jeopardy standards. If I can get it, it's easy by Jeopardy standards.
Also, like, how many movies are named after cities, you know? I feel like that would really narrow it down.
Well, and I mean, that's kind of, I didn't know it off the top of my head, but I was like, okay, well, probably a popular movie from the 40s, okay, named after a city, okay.
There's one.
But Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, anyway, back on topic.
Should we talk about the Wicked Witch of the West? Because, like, you know, we're talking about the monkeys. Should we talk about, we haven't really talked about the witch yet.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about her.
See, I wish you guys had seen this as a kid so that I could ask you if she scared you. But, because I feel like she caused a lot of trauma to a lot of people.
Yeah, I know you've told me this before, which is that, like, kids were so scared of her, she went on TV and they were, like, upset or something.
Yeah, oh, well, she did a episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood where she came on and, like, she brought her witch's hat. This is, like, several years later, obviously. Well, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, obviously several years later. But she, like, brought her witch's hat and, like, they introduced her and, like, she, you know, it was just really sweet. She used to be a kindergarten teacher. Like, she's, like, the nicest person on earth. But I remember being not, like, terrified of her, but I do remember the scene just before they meet just before they pick the apples. There's, like, a really quick shot of her behind a tree, and then when they meet the Tin Man and she's on the roof and, like, throws fire at them, like, I remember those two moments scared me a little bit as a kid. Not, like, traumatized scared me, but, like, did scare me.
Yeah, as an adult, I was more scared of the iteration of Mrs. Gulch. She was, like, gonna take Toto and shoot him in the face.
Yeah.
Evil monster woman.
I did make note this time that Miss Gulch is scary, like, legitimately scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm more afraid of her than the witch. Like, she's just some crazy lady with a bike who wanted to murder your dog.
Yeah, and she got, like, a letter of the law somehow saying, I get to take and murder this dog. She is, like, putting a lot of planning into her evil.
Yeah, and if you compare her to the Wicked Witch, like, Dorothy killed the witch's sister and then stole her shoes, you know? I understand why the witch is after her, but Mrs. Gulch is just evil for the sake of evil.
Excellent point. Honestly, is that what Wicked's about? Is Wicked saying that the Wicked Witch of the West wasn't really that bad? Her sister got murdered and she was trying to do the right thing by getting her property back?
Well, you don't really see much of the Wizard of Oz timeline in Wicked. It's, like, mostly the before. You see a little bit of it, but you're supposed to be more sympathetic towards her and understand her background. That's not what this movie really contains, so I don't know.
This movie also made me think about the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm like, hey man, your plot is stupid and needlessly complicated. Why would you put an hourglass and be like, you have this long to live, instead of just immediately killing her?
And then leaves the room.
What was she doing during that time? What was she doing? She was just like, where was she?
She was filling up buckets of water to leave around the castle just in case the Scarecrow catches on fire.
True. That's funny. That jumped out at me when I was watching this yesterday. I was like, wait a minute, what is she doing during this time? She already has a plan. Just kill her.
Right. She's just, like, standing outside the door, like, tapping her fingers, like, ugh, why did I do this? Why did I set this up? Really tied myself to this situation, and I really wish I didn't. But, right, like, she's not an evil mastermind. She's trying to be, but, the dog gets away. And then she's like, fine, you'll only have 1 hour to live, and maybe your friends will rescue you. I'm gonna go have a coffee.
Yeah, coffee break.
What are you doing, dude? Just do it.
Also, maybe this is more back into the whole infrastructure of Oz and how that works, but, like, she has a really massive castle, and I'm just not sure why. Like, who built it? Where is it?
She has a lot of guards, too, for one person.
And she's clearly, like, enslaved them because they all cheer when she's dead. But, like, again, why? How?
Are those guards Winkies? Does that come up in the movie at all? Why is this sounding familiar to me?
Are you talking about Teletubbies?
No, remember I said
Winky,
before
that's what
that it's one of the... I'm just talking over you guys. I'm
just ignoring us.
I mean, you should.
One of the counties in Oz was Winky County, and I'm wondering if maybe that's where she's based. I'm gonna Google this.
But okay, so there's Winky County, and then this evil witch shows up and is like, I'm going to enslave the people and have them build me a castle, and then just kind of chill. And then how is she getting the people to do what she says? Like,
right,
was it like
and no one else is standing up to her. Glinda's just like, I have to go.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. The Winky Country is the western region of the fictional land of Oz. It is in the west, noted by later being ruled by the Wicked Witch of the West. This quadrant is strictly distinguished by the color yellow. So I don't know why the yellow doesn't really come into play in this movie, but yeah.
So each quadrant is ruled by a witch, and 2 of them just accidentally have wicked witches, and 2 of them have good witches. But like the good ones, the people in the good towns and the good witches do nothing to help those being ruled by the wicked witches?
We've once again reached my limit of knowledge on the Wizard of Oz lore.
Because again, I know we're just back to shitting on Glinda, but like, how good of a witch is she if she's like, oh, people are enslaved by an evil witch, but that's none of my business because that's the next county over.
Right? She's always just flying away like, figure it out yourselves. God damn it, you have magic.
Traveling away in her bubble, leaving them to their fates.
Yeah, so she's kind of a dick. I think Glinda, not so good. Hot take.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Glinda the not so good witch.
Right? Average, kind of shitty witch. But, of course, Toto saves the day. Like, Toto is it, right?
Toto is the hero of this movie.
Yeah, Toto rules.
For real. He's the best. He's like, I'm not going to stay in this basket. No basket can contain Toto. Okay? He's like, what? Another basket? Guess what? I figured these out ages ago. Goodbye. He was amazing. And then he went and got them. Although I really found the Scarecrow having his stuffing ripped out to be super creepy.
Right?
A good effect, I'll say, like that he was like essentially buried in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But really like disconcerting. So all it takes is just handfuls of straw shoved back in you, and then you can articulate your joints again. That's upsetting, right? Like, where's the skeleton? He doesn't have a skeleton?
No, because he's a scarecrow.
But then how can he move?
He can't really move. That's why he's flopping around all the time, and Dorothy has to help him.
Well, he walks upright like a man.
I don't know what to tell you.
Magic, I get it. I got it. Magic. Sure. But it's still upsetting. I don't like that his guts can be torn out repeatedly and then shoved back in.
My other question about Scarecrow is when they go back to the witch's castle. We kind of skipped over the Emerald City. We can go back because we can talk about the wizard at some point. But when they go back to the witch's castle to get her broomstick, where did you notice that the Scarecrow's carrying like a pistol?
Ugh.
Where did he get a gun? Lion's got like a big old butterfly net, and then I think Tin Man has like an axe. Well, he obviously has an axe, but he has something else. I couldn't make out what the other weapon was. But then Scarecrow has a gun in his hand.
Yikes!
Who gave him the handgun? Did Toto have that?
The only thing I could think is that's like some deleted scene somewhere.
Maybe he took it. Yeah, maybe he took it from one of the guards they beat up, which was hilarious. I'm like, those guards had the jump on those 3, and somehow they lost their outfits. Like, you guys are really bad guards. I guess their heart wasn't in it, right? They hated the Wicked Witch, so they were just
but then why weren't they revolting and turning against her?
I kind of assumed they were like under her spell.
I guess.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
That's fair.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
I'm still just back into how this whole Oz setup works.
Can someone please write in?
No, Austin, you have to explain it to me. So, as we established, there's the 4 quadrants, each ruled by a witch. But then what does the wizard do? What does he rule over?
Yeah, just the city, right? So he's like a mayor.
So he's not really anything special.
Well, we've established that.
Well, I mean, okay, yes. But he's still, everyone's like, oh, he's the wizard and he's in charge. But not really. If the witches are just doing whatever the heck they want and he's just like making himself a ham sandwich and watching TV.
He rules like by being so mysterious. And he's like, all the good things that happen are because I did them, and everything else is the bad witches. So I think he learned from Glinda. Manipulate the people.
Yeah, I was
don't tell them what's going on, and float away in a bubble or a curtain or something. Just don't let them see that you're an average human being eating a ham sandwich.
I don't know. I just think maybe this movie's got some like dark things to say about people in power.
Whoa. You just took it to the next level.
Right? Like the person in charge is like a empty suit, literally just a sock puppet, and the rest is like chaos.
Yeah, and when the going gets tough, they just float away in a balloon. They're like, peace.
Yeah.
Well, should we talk about the wizard a little bit more in the Emerald City and all that?
You know what I loved was the horse of a different color.
Yes.
That was so nice. I don't know why. It was so wholesome and sweet. I was like, oh, what a nice little gag.
Right?
Also, the horses were dyed with Jell-O, like food coloring crystals.
Yeah.
Which I was very
Oh.
happy to read after I'd read about the toxic paint killing all the humans. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, what did they do to those horses?
That was such a vibrant color. That red horse, I thought for sure it was the 1939 version of CGI. Because I couldn't believe that was the real color.
Apparently they kept licking it off each other too. The horses.
Oh,
Aw.
horsies. Little guys. I enjoyed Emerald City, although I couldn't figure out how it works. I mean, there's no industry or infrastructure or like garbage men. I'm like, what? Everyone wears green. I'm like, what do you do all day in the city? Where are the stores?
Are you only allowed to live in Emerald City if you're already green, or do you just turn into a green person once you move there?
Very interesting.
Like wearing the color green?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Austin?
maybe that's their chief industry is green clothing.
There you go.
And green hair dye.
Right?
Why not?
And like the weird, what was it called? Like buff and fluff zone where everyone gets a new makeover?
Oh, yeah. So maybe, yeah, everyone who moves there does get a makeover, and usually you're just given green clothes at the end.
I'm in.
Did Dorothy get a makeover?
Yeah, her hair got changed.
Yeah, I was like, all I really noticed was that they took her hair out of pigtails, but I'm like, is that it? Like, I'd be kind of feeling a little ripped off if they promised me a makeover and all I got was my hair brushed.
Yeah, Scarecrow got like fully restuffed.
Yeah.
Tin Man got a nice buff job.
I think they were like showing her getting her nails done and a pedicure and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
She
Like
also asks if she could get her eyes dyed, and they say yes, but I don't think she does. Did you catch that?
I did catch that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's horrific. That is nightmare fuel.
People are doing that now. They're working on eye dye, and many people have gone blind in the pursuit. It's pretty crazy.
Shocking.
I have seen that where people have tried to like get tattoos on their eyeballs and it does not go well.
Why would you do that?
Because you're a psychopath and you want your eyes to match your dress.
Right? It's an important thing, apparently.
This is the first time I realized that so I knew Professor Marvel and the Wizard were obviously the same actor, but this is the first time I realized that he also is the guard outside of the Wizard's chambers and the door guy.
The crying guy.
Yeah, and a carriage driver as well.
I thought I was going a little crazy where I was like, is this the same one person in Emerald City who just works all these different jobs? Like, is this supposed to be the same character going from like the guard to the carriage to the other guard? And then he's also the wizard. Like, is that just...
Yeah. No, I think it's just a gag. I don't think it's supposed to be the same person. His name's Frank Morgan, I think, that actor. But yeah, I think it's just kind of a joke that he's the same actor in all these parts. But this is the first time I noticed it.
That's funny. I genuinely was like, am I supposed to guess that the wizard is like single-handedly trying to hide his identity by like working in Emerald City at like different odd jobs? But clearly I was just overthinking it.
I mean, I guess it's possible. But I'm going to say it's just not that serious, not that deep.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
That's really interesting. I didn't notice at all. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. It actually took me a couple moments after the curtains pulled and you see Oz to realize, I'm like, wait a second. Is that the guy from the beginning? I really thought he was kind of a throwaway character in the beginning. Not Captain Marvel, Professor Marvel. And also, hey man, when Dorothy's back in her bedroom, maybe don't like poke your head in her window. Like, hey, 12-year-old. Oh no, your family's here. That part was weird.
Weird because he's just like a traveling grifter type. Like, he doesn't know her family. He's just sticking his head in the window. Like, heard there was a sick girl in here. Like, what are you doing?
They're all like,
how
welcome.
How did you hear that?
Yeah, who told him? She literally, everyone
to?
She knows is in the same room with her. Who's wandering around being like, Dorothy hit her head, see? Yeah, that's my 1930s impression.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
What else we got?
I know, I'm trying to think of what we haven't hit, because I feel like we've covered a lot of material.
We've covered the majority of the movie.
Oh, can I just say one thing? Thank you. Thank you for permission. Basically, the ending, I think we kind of mentioned this earlier, Jackie, where we kind of thought it was going to be like, oh, Tin Man, you had heart all along. Scarecrow, you had brains all along. I really thought that was how that scene played out. Like, in my head, I thought that's what would happen after they talked to the fake wizard, that he was like, don't you see you've had brains because you came up with this amazing plan? And can't you see that you have heart because you cried a lot and you care? I didn't realize it was just him going through a bag and handing them junk. So I was real thrown off by that.
Yeah, he's like, sorry, I can't give you the things you want, but actually I can, so I'm going to give you the things you want. Like, he said, I can't do it, and then he did it. I was like, what the hell?
But kind of. Dude. He was like, I can't give you a heart, but I don't know, here's a stopwatch shaped like a heart. Like, it was very jarring. Like, I thought in my head it was a lot more like on the nose message for children. It was inside you all along. And then instead it was just, here's a bag of some knickknacks that you can have.
So do you think that they interpreted it as, like, do you think Tin Man was like, I have a heart now? Because I always just assumed that it was just, you've always had this. It was in you the whole time. Like, that's always how I've read it.
The one that really threw me was the Scarecrow, because he handed him the degree, and then he starts reciting the Pythagorean theorem. Like, I'm like, so click, now he is smart?
Yeah, and then same with, like, the heart thing, where he's like, oh, listen to it ticking, and that's kind of like, you know, like a heartbeat. Like, I thought they were taking it very literally, and I'm like, but it was inside you all along? Like, am I just being too optimistic about a children's movie?
Maybe, and I also think they just were like, they don't care. It was such a fantastical thing. It was just like, and wrapping it up with a bow, and moving on. The adventure was the message.
Yeah, and I think, like, the message is still there a bit, but I thought it was a lot more literal and a lot less, like, the wizard gives them some useless stuff and takes off in his hot air balloon and kind of just sucks.
Yeah, he totally sucks. He's like, later. And they're like, but you promised you would take Dorothy. He's like, can't do it. I'm already floating. But I was actually really surprised how quickly he was willing to be like, guess I'll leave my cushy position and go back to Earth or whatever. Like, it didn't take much convincing at all. He was in charge of this entire city. He owned it. Why would he ever want to leave? I'd be like,
as
sorry,
established,
Dorothy.
He wasn't really in charge, because the witches all ruled their areas, and the people in Emerald City just did whatever, painted themselves green, and he just hung out in a room and did nothing. He worked 4 jobs. Like, he was bored.
Maybe he loved working those jobs. He was like a spy. He'd go to the bar, learn the intel from the other green people. But you're right. Maybe he wasn't really loving it, and it was time for him to go. It was all a facade, and it was obviously a, whatever, house of cards. With the Wicked Witch of the East and the West out of the way, the true nemesis, Glinda, is going to take over Oz, and he had to get out of town.
You're right. Glinda's about to become, like, the dictator of Oz. She rules all the land now.
Right? She's no opposition. Thanks, Dorothy. Now get out.
Wow.
You guys are unraveling so many layers here.
Austin, I was going to ask, did you ever see that movie with, like, James Franco where he's, like, the young wizard moving to Oz?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Never want to see that.
Yeah,
also, James Franco sucks.
Agreed.
Yeah, it didn't look of any interest to me, but I'd also never seen Wizard of Oz. But, like, I'm pretty sure that's, like, the wizard's origin story. Like, when he says to Dorothy, like, oh, I'm originally from Kansas, and I came here in a hot air balloon or whatever. Like, I think that's what that James Franco movie is about. Which I didn't know that we need a whole movie of that. But whatever. What do I know?
Right. I was fine with that throwaway line being his entire story.
Right. Also, if this movie is setting it up that it's like a dream world, and then the other movie is saying, no, it's real. Interesting.
Interesting. I'm surprised Auntie M wasn't represented. I know Auntie M was always the goal to get back to Auntie M, but I thought she'd have a role.
I agree. You think that maybe Auntie M would have been like the good witch or something, you know? Like if she's supposed to be like, oh, I need to get back to my aunt. I miss her so much. I love her. She would be like the nice, beautiful princess witch thing.
But then Dorothy would know that she wasn't, like, it wouldn't really work with her learning her lesson or whatever, but like she would recognize her as Auntie M.
But maybe then it would be your version, Austin, where you said there was Glinda and then the other good witch at the end. So Auntie M would be the other good witch at the end being like, home was here all along.
You guys, you're writing such a good movie.
Hey, Hollywood, give us a call.
Yes, someone call Hollywood. Let them know that we have fixed the Wizard of Oz.
I have a question for you guys about the ending. Would you choose to go back to Kansas? She obviously lived on like a dirt farm. Would you go back?
No. I mean,
right?
basically, she lives, like you said, in a dirt farm. Her parents are, I guess, dead because she's being raised by her aunt and uncle. Some crazy lady is trying to murder her dog. And then you
Oh
go
my
to the
God.
magical world where everyone loves you. Like,
Yeah, she's
stay
like
there.
worshipped.
So I have a question. If she goes back, / when she goes back, is her dog still going to get murdered?
No, because even if the old crazy lady tries it, like, Toto's such a badass. Like,
Yeah.
it'll never take.
No
That's a good
basket
point.
will stop him.
Yeah, he'll just keep running
Exactly.
away and being like, lady,
Okay,
when
good.
will you learn?
Because there was really no resolution to that line. Like, I'm pretty sure
No.
Miss Gulch is still a bitch and still trying to kill her dog.
Maybe Miss Gulch died in the tornado.
I was just going to say, she did get swept up in the twister.
You know what? Happy about that. Sure. Ride your bike to hell, you old bitch.
Jackie, you
Oh,
are
no.
killing it with the lines today.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, you guys. I'm just on fire.
Should we talk about some high points and low points?
Yes, let's do it.
Sure.
I think I'm going to say that my high point is the score, which is really nerdy. I just really love everything about the music in this movie. Like, there's a couple songs that I could do without, but for them, like the whole score, even when there's not actually singing going on, the background music, it's all so good. Maybe it's because I've played it, so I know it better than other movies, but I think it's so perfect. It's so fun. It's memorable. Obviously, we all know the tunes, but I just really love the score.
Nice.
And my low point is very specific. When the door guard guy turns them away from Oz, and then Dorothy's sitting on the stairs, and she's sitting outside the door, and she's crying about how she just wants to go home, and how Auntie M and whatever, she misses her, and she wants to go home or whatever. And then the guard like peeps his little head out of the window, and he's like sobbing. I don't like that part. I don't like the water all over his face.
Oh my God, yeah,
much.
it's coming out of his forehead. What is that?
I don't like it. It's over his mustache. Don't like it. That's my low point.
Good call. Okay, I'll go. So I had originally written down that my high point was Toto. How well the dog acted. He was always where he had to be. He was always following them. I'm like, do they have bacon in their shoes? Who knows?
And he got manhandled in that movie.
He really did. On the spur of the moment, I'm changing my high point to oil cans.
The oil can.
Yes. Love them. They delivered nonstop. Whoop, whoop. You know what? Amazing. I love oil cans, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Every time you make that noise.
Yeah, right? Your love for oil cans is growing. This is the gift I give to you. And my low point is how few oil cans there are in this movie. Just kidding. No, just kidding. My low point, I just wrote down the eyebrows because it bothered me. I know it's the style at the time or however we're going to say it, but they were so far apart. It did a real disservice to her beautiful face. And it just, every time I saw her straight on, it threw me. So didn't like her eyebrows. It's really stuck out for me, unfortunately.
For me, I'd say my high point is Toto. Toto is the best. Great dog. So patient. So well trained. Love and support this dog. Deserves its own spinoff. My low point would probably be, this isn't necessarily any specific thing in the movie, but I'd say my overall low point is probably just that watching a movie where you've already know all of the plot and the songs and the major scenes and you've seen clips of it, it's just a really boring experience. And it confuses me because I know that's how Austin watches all movies. She like reads the synopsis on Wikipedia, watches a YouTube video about it, listens to a 10 episode podcast on the making of, and then sits down and watches the movie. But for me, I just felt like I was so bored and I couldn't really engage with it as much because I always knew what was coming next. So I think that's not the movie's fault, that's Jen's fault, but that was my low point.
That makes a lot of sense,
I
actually.
guess it is hard when it's a movie. I'm really surprised that Jackie knew so little about it. Like,
Rude.
Well, no, it's great. I love that you did because you got to like actually enjoy the movie, or at least like have an actual. I don't know where you're standing on the enjoyment scale, but like you at least got to like see the movie and experience it for the first time with relatively new eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand how it wouldn't be as enjoyable knowing what's coming.
Even though, again, that is how you watch all movies.
I was going to say, Jen just described me to a T, so that's how I watch all movies. That's how I watch all horror movies.
Yeah, you just take the fun right out of it.
I think I'm on Austin's side. Horror movies are terrible. Anyway, that's for another day. I want to hear the enjoyment scales.
Oh, should we do quotes first?
Oh, okay. Quotes. I loved the quotes. There was a lot of good quotes. They're all quotes that every single person knows off by heart. I mean, yes. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Hello? Yeah. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Clearly. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. Amazing. I actually didn't know that lions and tigers and bears, oh my, was from this movie? Was that where that got coined?
I guess so.
Had no clue. Did not know that. I had this quote because the Wicked Witch of the West got super dark. She goes, the last to go will see the other three go before her. I was like, dude, you're telling her you're going to murder her friends in front of her, make her watch, and then kill her. That is like, wow.
It's true.
I really enjoyed when he's like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
That's another really famous one.
Right? But that was new to me. I'm sure I've heard it before, but I didn't understand the context. I was like, oh my God, that's funny. And then another one, the wizard is like mocking them a little bit. He's like, how can I thank you enough? Well, you can't. And that was that. Those are the quotes I have. Classic quotes. I really do feel like I understand some very significant pop culture references a lot better now. So that was my education, and I enjoyed it. That was good.
Mm-hmm. It's not really like a quote, but when the witches' guards were singing that like OEO song,
yes.
I had that moment where I'm like, I had no idea that was from that movie. Like, I just thought that was something.
What did you understand them as saying?
OEO.
Yeah, vowel sounds.
Okay. Because there's like all these rumors. Like it's not like, because you can hear it multiple ways. Like I've heard OEO, just that, or oh, we love the old one. Like, oh, we love the old one, right? Or all we owe her is another one that you can hear it as. In the script, as far as I can tell, is just like they chant. So who knows?
Yeah, I didn't hear any words. I just heard the vowel noises. And like I said, like I've heard that in other things, but I never knew it came from this. And I've only heard it as vowel noises. So
well, that makes sense.
Agreed.
The only other quote that I had written down was right at the beginning when Miss Gulch is at their house arguing with Aunt Em and Uncle Henry about taking Toto. Aunt Em says, he's really gentle, with gentle people, that is. I was like, oh, Aunt Em's got some shade.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, and of course, now I know I've got a heart because it's breaking.
Oh, I did write that one down, but I didn't want to say it because it's too sappy. But it was nice. Love that Tin Man.
What do we usually do now?
Some trivia. Do you have some trivia, Austin?
Oh, God.
I know Jen, we covered quite a bit.
I have about 5 pages of trivia.
All right, let's narrow that down.
Yeah. Let's see what's good here.
I want to hear the salacious trivia, the drama.
I feel like most of it we've kind of already talked about, how it was a death trap. Everyone almost died. Judy Garland was like forced to be on diet pills, and that went downhill fast. Anyway, so the budget of this movie was $3.2 million, roughly estimated. I couldn't find specific numbers for the gross, but it wasn't a huge box office success. It did a lot better once it started airing on television. 44 million people turned into its first TV broadcast on November 3rd, 1956. And then it started airing on around the holidays on CBS in 1959, and that was when it really started to take off and become this like cultural phenomenon.
Do you have the best piece of trivia, which is that people think a Munchkin hung himself in the background?
Oh, yeah. It's a
What?
Whole big nope. It's not true.
It's not true, Jackie, but it's one of those movie urban legends that's been around forever. In one of the forest scenes, you see something in the background near a tree, and people, I guess when they were watching it on TV back in the day when you couldn't like pause, I guess, they thought it was a body like swinging that had hung itself, so it became this like urban legend that one of the Munchkins hung himself on set, and it somehow made its way into the film. It's obviously
Whoa.
not true. I watched that clip on YouTube like 3 times. There's no way that it looks like a person hanging themselves. Like, it just doesn't. But maybe
Pretty
if you
sure
were
it's a
watching
stork
it,
flapping its wings.
yeah, like it's clearly a bird.
Yeah.
Oh, I
but
saw that
think,
bird.
yeah, I think maybe if you were watching it like on a low res version on the TV 40 years ago, maybe you wouldn't be able to make out what it is. But it's, yeah, Snopes does a very thorough debunking of like the Munchkins weren't even on set at that point, and also people would have noticed and like screamed and stopped filming.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Any more crazy trivia?
Yeah, sorry, back to real trivia.
Oh, in the Tin Man song, there's a moment where you hear like the high-pitched voice saying, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" That's the voice of Adriana Castellotti, who was the voice of Snow White.
Oh.
Yeah, fun fact. Okay, do you guys want to take some guesses at numbers?
Love it.
Yes.
Do you want to guess how many Munchkins there were? Do you want to guess how many costume changes there were? How many makeup changes there were? And how many sets there were? Which would you like?
Munchkins.
Yeah, let's start with Munchkins.
Okay.
I'm going to say there were 60.
I'm going to say there were 120.
Yeah, about 150.
Nice.
Whoa.
Costume changes over the course of the whole movie.
For
Of
everybody.
everyone?
Yes.
300.
100.
3,210.
Oh my god, how is that possible? You didn't see that many people.
But
There's
I guess
a lot of background.
yeah, everyone's playing multiple roles too.
Yeah, but
That sounds very high. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a crazy number.
And then the number of sets, that's kind of a good one. There's a lot of sets in this movie.
Okay, when you say number of sets, what do you mean? Because clearly, like the yellow brick road was like, why can't I speak? Clearly, the yellow brick road was like one stage with moving parts. You know what I mean? Does that count as multiple sets? Like they were on one sound stage for probably the majority of this movie.
Right. Well, I think just like set changes then.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's all the different sections of the yellow brick road. There's like the forest, there's where she meets Scarecrow, that's where she like walks away with Scarecrow, where they meet the Tin Man, you know.
Right. Wow.
Different sections.
I'm going to say 40.
I'm going to say 25.
68.
Shit.
All just to say, like, this is a massive friggin' movie.
Yeah, all for $3 million.
Jen.
Yes.
This is kind of a heavy hitter of a year.
Yeah, so this came out in 1939, like you mentioned. It wasn't actually a huge hit at the time, which I did not necessarily know. Like in my head, this was like a huge, huge movie, but it wasn't in the top kind of grosses of the year. It wasn't a big Oscars movie, even though it obviously won for Best Song. But some of the other films that came out in 1939, number one, obviously Gone with the Wind, which is like still the most successful movie of all time, I think.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Goodbye, Mr. Chips came out that year, as well as Stagecoach. Yeah, and then just a bunch of other, like, obviously old movies. Son of Frankenstein. Did you guys see that one?
No.
Nope.
Have you?
No. I was just trying to see how many 30s movies you guys might have seen. I don't think I've seen very many.
Have you guys seen Gone with the Wind?
You know what? I haven't seen the whole thing.
Long.
Yeah, it's 17 hours, so I haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah, same. I've seen snippets. I think like had the misfortune of coming out the same year as Gone with the Wind. I think had it not come out the same year, it probably would have done a lot better at the Oscars. I didn't mention Judy Garland won a special juvenile Oscar for this.
Oh yes,
so that's good.
They used to have an award for like best child performance or something.
Yeah, that's her only Oscar.
Wow.
Oh no, that's sad.
But also, they were. Oh, I didn't mention this film went through 5 directors. And I guess Victor Fleming stuck around long enough to get the director's credit, but he was also the director of Gone with the Wind, so he had a great year.
Whoa, busy year.
Yeah.
Nice. Anything else, Jen?
No, although I did when I was looking this up, I'm not sure if this is exactly true, but it said that this movie premiered like 5 days before Hitler invaded Poland. So that's also possibly why it didn't do that well at the box office. People were too busy worrying about the war to go see movies.
That's fair. I also read that, and I didn't fact check this, so we're just going to pretend that it's true. Once again, because when you read it on the internet, that means it's true.
You just have to say it with confidence, like that 5 days before Hitler. I don't know if it was 5 days. Someone said that, and I'm just repeating it.
So apparently, the day of Judy Garland's death, there was a tornado in Kansas.
Oh,
that's kind of sad and sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is on AFI's Top 100 Movies. It's number 6. It is number 3 in their top musicals of all time. It's obviously the number 1 song for Over the Rainbow. And Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead is at number 82. The number 4 quote of all time is Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. And number 23 is There's No Place Like Home. And 99 is I'll Get You, My Pretty, and Your Little Dog, Too. It's also the number 4 villain of all time and the number 1 fantasy of all time. So it cleans up at the AFI.
Nice.
Nice. Well deserved, I think.
Yeah. Well, I guess that brings us to our ratings. Have I yammered on long enough?
Can I say one piece of trivia that's not even related to this movie, but I just want to throw this out there? You can totally cut this, Austin, but I have one final piece of trivia.
Okay.
Which is that after Margaret Thatcher died, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead went to number 1 on the charts in the UK.
That's so horrible.
Wow.
It's my favorite. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, they hated her. Enjoyment time.
Yes,
all
let's
right.
do our ratings.
Austin, why don't you go first?
I think
we know
for
you
this,
like it.
Yeah, I think for this, it's just going to be a really simple 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. 10 for enjoyment, 10 for quality of the movie, especially given when it was made. I just think it's an extremely watchable movie. I've said that a bunch of times, but I think it's aged really well. It's still a good time. I always enjoy watching it. I watch it every couple of years. It's a good time all around.
Nice. Maybe Jen goes because we know she's not gonna love it.
A little lower.
Wow. Okay. I think quality level, I would be fine to give it a 10 out of 10, like for what it was at the time. Like we said, there's a lot of really good special effects for being the 30s, and it looks really good. The colors, the costumes, the makeup, everything looks really good, and the songs are so iconic and it stood the test of time. So clearly they did something right. I'm not going to argue with them on quality. 10 out of 10. Enjoyment, like I said, I kind of had a hard time with it because I knew a lot of it, and then it felt less engaging to me because of that. I was kind of bored at points. The Munchkins really, really bothered me. I did not enjoy that. So overall, I'd say my enjoyment was like a 5 or a 6.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's a perfectly fine children's movie, but I just didn't have a fun time watching it.
Yeah, that's fair. For quality, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Everybody can agree they did some really great stuff. It all looked very intricate, and a lot of it seemed very innovative for the time. I love a visual gag like the horse of a different color. I thought the sets were great. I mean, they did crazy stuff for the 30s. No other movie really I can think of came close to what they were doing for a long time. So they get straight 10 for that. Enjoyment, interesting. I really waffled on how to rate my enjoyment because it's just not my necessarily enjoyed type of movie. It seemed slow. I mean, I'm trying to look at it through the lens of how I would have appreciated it in the 30s. And it would have been something so new and crazy and visually arresting. But I just had a hard time getting into it too. And I don't know if I don't think it's the same as Jen. I obviously didn't know exactly what was happening. It could have been the fact that I had to watch it on my phone. So it was real small. But towards the end, I just found myself being like, okay, is this over yet? I don't know if it was the pacing. Who knows, right? For some reason, it just 100% didn't keep me involved. Mm-hmm. So I will say, though, I enjoyed most of it. I enjoyed visually. I enjoyed the characters. Love an oil can. So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm glad that you guys more or less enjoyed it, because I was like, I don't think I'm ready to debate Jackie on The Wizard of Oz.
See, I'm nice. You guys destroy the things I love. I am a nice person. Oh, speaking of which, should we check the friendometer?
Oh, yeah. Friendometer is very relieved right now, so we're good. We're still friends. Top scores.
My needle is all the way in friend territory.
My needle was going to be lower, but with Jackie making the oil can sound, I've never loved anything more in my life. So 100% friendometer. Like, we've broken the dial.
I know you want me to make the noise again. I'm not going to.
I really, really do. I want you to end the episode with that noise.
All right, well, that's it, I guess.
is. Jen, what movie are we watching next? Wait, hold on. No, it's Jackie, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Jackie, what movie?
We're mixing things up a little this time because we have a little something special planned for October. So we're going to switch our order around a little bit. So Jackie is going to actually take the next pick. So Jackie, what are we watching next week?
You guys, next week we're watching the absolute masterpiece, Apollo 13. Yes! I'm so excited.
You know what's even more exciting? I've seen this movie.
And loved it.
What?
Don't tell me. If you didn't love it, I don't want to know. We'll get to it. It's going to be so fun. It's a great
First
movie.
Jackie movie that I've seen.
That can't be true.
It's definitely true.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay, well this is good. Now we can maybe agree on some stuff.
And Jen, you've never seen it.
I don't think I have.
Okay. Maybe it's a Rock situation, but in reverse.
Yeah, maybe halfway through I'll be like, wait a minute, I know where this is going.
All right. So that about wraps us up for Wizard of Oz. That was a really fun chat. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it and can appreciate it. I'm really glad I didn't have to start arguing about the validity of the Wizard of Oz. I came prepared, but...
That's why you had all those AFI facts. You were going to be like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't like it.
AFI says. But anyway, that was really fun. I enjoyed myself. So next time we're going to be talking about Apollo 13. It's going to be great. Do we have a question that we want to ask?
When you were a child, did you play with oil cans?
All right. I knew you were going to bring it up again. I just was waiting. When is she going to say it?
Please message us on Twitter if you played with an oil can as a child. Our Twitter handle is @IHateYourTaste. You can use #oil cans. Please tell me that's a hashtag. I'm going to look this up.
So #oil cans. And also, if you are more familiar with the geopolitical workings of Oz, please let us know. I think that's been the overarching problem with this evening, or with this episode. Jen mentioned you can find us on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. Please, if you can, please write a review, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Tell your friends. We're having a lot of fun doing this, and we hope that you're enjoying it. So thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Whoop whoop.